Hey, everybody, and welcome to Tier 1 Interventions Podcast, where we look at your core classroom and we try to maximize your gifts and help you reach every student with their math, with their writing, and with their reading skills. But we concentrate mostly on math here at Tier 1 Interventions Podcast. And our math leader, Miss Jonna Lee, is ready to share some gold nuggets today. Welcome to the podcast, Jonna Lee.
And they are gold nuggets because these last few weeks have been a whirlwind. I'm going to kind of take us back a little bit. And there's another community that I teach called a math teacher mastermind. And I'm going to launch our session today. If I show you this, that was a lot of teaching in one.
Hold
That was
on,
a,
Janet was trying to say something.
oh, sorry. Go, Janet. Go,
Yeah,
Janet. Go, Janet. It's your birthday. Gonna party. Go ahead.
thank you. Thank you. It's funny. I teach seventh grade, so I started with number lines because that's what my curriculum does. And then by the time I came to the paper folding, I pulled out the strips and I said, "Tell me, what do you see?" And it was really funny how creative some of the kids were. But one of the kids was like, "It's a number line." I'm like, "What?" And some of the kids are,
Whoa.
"Oh," and I didn't even say it yet. And it was just, I was like, well, we could do that. And some kids use them as headbands, some kids use them as a flag. But we played with all that for a minute. I'm like, okay, let's go to math. But it was just really interesting how the powers of suggestion. I hadn't said that yet, but they were trying to connect. Like whatever, I don't even know. Like they know that it seems crazy, but there's a reason to it, and they got to figure out what I'm doing.
Dang. That's huge. Wow. Other thoughts?
Think it also helps students see the connectedness of math, that everything we do is connected. It's not a series of unrelated procedures.
Kathy, it is interesting and important that you say that right now because in my high school classes, these the kids have learned that if they just wait long enough, we'll move on to something else. Like we've taught them this. One, because the teachers themselves don't know the connectedness. I'm learning new connectedness every day. You witnessed that in real time today. You're welcome. Okay. We were not taught the connectedness. And so our kids are not. So this is actually what I was going to show you. And that it actually, let me pull up a couple of things. Other thoughts before I share. Okay, let me resave this so I can write on it if I need to. Okay, I'm ready.
Beth, have you been able to catch up to where Jonna Lee is? Or is it going flying
They
over
say
your head,
no.
girl?
There's no way.
No, I see. I'm forced into doing what I wrote for the following week. So I've got to connect the number line to what you just discussed. I got to find a way to put it in because it's just, I'm dealing with a lot of administrative pressure right now. I just found that phenomenal. And I really want to do that, even just to connect, because I've had a student who is probably on first grade level and she's in fifth grade and she has really connected to the number line. Okay. It's really
Great.
made progress. So I have her own personal number line to do other tasks. But does she really understand it? Probably not. So I think doing the folding is going to make a huge difference. And at the same time, I have a boy who only comes once a week. He will definitely connect to the diamond. He will definitely connect to the diamond. I'm excited. I've got to follow my plans, but I keep telling them these kids need foundational skills and it's not always in there. I go according to what I'm feeling, but that's something very difficult. I'm just hearing gunshots. Okay, we're getting near hunting season. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's just, if I could have access to those slides, that'd be great. I'll adapt as I will,
Yeah.
but I just found this like earth shattering. I'm not
You know
completely
what?
caught up, but
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. I wasn't sure if you got anything out of that, and that is a great response. So I am thrilled at that. I am absolutely thrilled at that. And the other piece of that is no, let's just stop at that. I am thrilled at that. So yeah, we'll make sure you get those resources.
thank you.
Perfect. Oh, I know what I was going to say. I know what I was going to say. On another connection to that, Beth and everybody, the paper fold, all of the reference tasks are done at every level, the exact same ones. The reference tasks are prerequisite skills. I can use them to teach all of the prerequisite skills. I can use them for gap filling. But within the same 9 minutes of instruction, I can take them to the grade level standard at the same time. There is no program out there, and never before has anyone been able to do intervention and gap filling at the same time we're teaching content standards. And that's what the Mastery Math method does. That is a huge disconnect in our intervention programs in schools. Because I'll have intervention specialists that are like, yeah, but I have to work on these IEP goals. It's totally different than what you're teaching. This goes back to Kathy's connectedness. No, it's not. The fact that you, as the adult and the gap filler, don't know that those IEP goals are connected to this content screams broken system. But second of all, let me teach you part of the Mastery Math method such that I can actually meet an IEP goal and teach a grade level standard at the same time. Even though they look like this, they're actually like this. So that's the point I wanted to make, Beth, with you. Thank you so much. Okay. Now, a lot of teachers, after I do my first 15-day launch, this was actually what I was going to teach today. Here we are. No, this was what I was going to teach too with Kathy and the X squared. So a couple things I planned were at. Okay. Many teachers ask me after the first 15-day startup unit, John Lee, how do you have any grades? Especially because, John Lee, we know how you feel about participation grades. So how do you have any grades? And if you do have grades, because I know what you're doing is very up level in those first 15 days, how do we make sure that kids that are used to getting 85s aren't getting 42%? Those are valid and fair questions. I answer those questions with my teachers and with my students. I don't think anybody on this call today has heard me answer those questions. Or have you? Tell me if you have. Okay, I thought this was going to be like brand new material. It's not brand new material for me, it's brand new teaching for me. This is what planning level 2 tier 1 interventions has done for me, is helped me realize, and it works perfectly the year that I'm actually teacher of record for a few classes in a classroom. The stars could not have aligned more perfectly this year, because my content for tier 1 interventions level 2, I'm actually answering a lot of these questions that I've been implementing for years, but I just do it so naturally. And some of you, like this cohort, doesn't ask these questions because you're so good at figuring this stuff out on your own anyway. But many of my type A control freak teachers who are very linear, very systematic, have to fill holes in the grade book, like they have these valid questions and they're truly asking and literally have no solution for it. They want to do first 15 days, but the biggest reason they don't do first 15 days is because after 15 days, they will have no grades. That's what's holding them back. So After my first 15 days, and this is for my algebra 2s and my algebra 1s, and you will get access to these PDFs. They will get to Sherry and then we'll get them to you. But I did a first 15-day quiz. I do this every year, depending on the level. My 5th grade quiz looks different than others, but this year, this is my algebra 2, algebra 1, 15-day quiz. The way that I also do a lot of my quizzes or tests is every chunk. So you're going to get to see the content on here and how it's related to all the reference tasks. But every chunk has leveled questions. The levels are different. If I were going to do this with 5th grade, I'll know this would be the same. If I were going to do this with 3rd grade, this wouldn't be the way I would do the level D question. So the level D and C questions are supposed to be the easiest of that chunk. And then hardest is level A. So then my kids would say to me, do I only have to do the C level questions? No, because that's a pretty big risk. Because if you only do the C level questions and you don't get all of them correct, because I tell them, if you can get all of the C level questions correct, you're at least a 70%. Oh, then I'm just going to do the C level questions because, see, these are kids that have been brought up in a system that completion is more than learning. So I'm like, you can. I'm not going to tell you can't. But if you only do the C level questions, and let's say you miss 4 of them, now you're below a 70. You could be below a 60. But if you did some of the B and A questions that you knew how to do, those can replace some of the C questions you miss. So this is how I do things, okay? So if you see, we've got diamond problems. Diamond problems are absolutely essential because we started last week factoring trinomials. Even in my 9th grade Algebra 1 class, special ed class, inclusion class, I should say, kids that struggle, the majority of the kids in there have not passed a state math assessment in years. And this is their first 15-day assessment. But last week we started factoring trinomials. I didn't call it that. I gave them a couple trinomials. I said, this x squared plus 5x plus 6, x squared plus 5x plus 6 is the area of a rectangle. Because we've already done a lot with rectangles. They know how important rectangles are. We've had diamond problems. We've done pizza problem. I tell them this is the area of a rectangle. I want to know the length and width. Now, let me take a picture of this because this is another teaching that I was.
Stop share so we can see it.
Oh, shoot. Okay, yes. Let me take a picture. Okay. I'm going to erase this. Just remember January math in a month. I'm going to say something about that. Since I'm erasing January math in a month, if you didn't launch the school year this way, January is a new relaunch of season 1. So January is season 3 math, and we specifically call it math in a month. And I treat January as another first 15-day beginning of the year. So everything I'm teaching you now, I don't know that I would implement it like October to December because I try to challenge my teachers to try to get more linear October to December and just because by the end of first 15 days, if you've done it, you're exhausted. I'm just going to be honest. So anything I'm talking about, maybe implement in January to relaunch. So what we do is what I do randomly, and I do this as early as 3rd grade. As early as 3rd grade, I introduce algebra tiles. So algebra tiles, there's a big blue square. That's a Disney song, Big Blue World, Finding Nemo. Okay, anyway. So the big blue square has a length of x and a width of x. So the big blue square has an area of x squared. Now, you can't introduce algebra tiles until you've introduced this kind of thing in first 15 days. And the other thing that I have note to send Sherry, which are the PDF quizzes, the leveled quizzes. But the other note I have to send Sherry, and I'm going to add on to this too, is I in a grade 8 classroom have an audio file of me launching algebra tiles with them. And it took the whole like 40 minutes, and we still didn't even define all the algebra tiles. But to listen to that audio, you're going to hear how painful it is to introduce algebra tiles, but you're also going to hear how patient I am for them to figure out what the algebra tiles are. So with my kids, because I introduced some of these in the first 15 days, we went from this to this very easily. Then there's a green rectangle that this side of the rectangle is the same size as this. So we also call this X, and I define this as a unit of 1. Now, what the kids want to do is they want to put these pieces, they want to put these rectangle pieces here and say that this length is like 5.3 or something. I'm like, you can't do that. Because in algebra and algebraic thinking, everything is a representation now and not necessarily literal. What that means is this 1 is literal. It's always going to be the size of that piece. But the blue square, because this is a variable and it has variable dimensions, this blue square could end up being this big, but it's still X by X. Then they're like, yeah, but then the green one is going to grow. Okay, but wait a minute, fancy pants. Wait a minute, fancy pants. Because this is not a variable, that will stay that size. And as the green one grows all around, the green one grows all around, that size stays the same, but the variable size varies connected to the length of the blue. But I only have these one size pieces. So we have to be literal and non-literal when we're talking algebraic. So if I get rid of all that extra and go back to what we just know that it, and after I say that to kids, they're still not going to understand. You're going to be like, John Lee, there's no way I can teach this lesson. No, you have to remember, we learn through interactions over time. For many of you, this is the first time you're learning this from me. And it would be absurd to think that you could go and implement it beautifully. Kathy, you use algebra tiles all the time. So people that use algebra tiles all the time, I'm not talking about you. But for those of you that this is the first time seeing something like this, don't try to implement it right away. Here we are. And then we have a yellow, and I don't have yellow, so I'll use this. And then there's a small square that is very literal. This is literal. It's a 1 by 1. There's no variable. It doesn't vary. And so legally, I can line up a 1 with a 1, and I can line up an X length with an X length. So we start putting these pieces together legally. Now we can put them together illegally. Let me show you what I mean by that. Just know that we can put this here illegally, but I can't use it as a measuring device. So if I put that there illegally, what is the length of this green rectangle from here to here? I'm really asking you guys. If we put this 1 by 1 here illegally on the side of the green piece, what is the length from the top of the green piece down to the top of, it's a yellow piece, but it's outlined in black today. What's the length of this? I'm looking in the chat. You can unmute. I'm really asking you. X minus 1. Kids cannot get there. It's like pulling 14 teeth with no Novocaine. It's painful, you guys. But the earlier these are introduced at a very low level, just exposures to these tools will scale achievement exponentially by secondary. So the length of that, I'll use orange, is this full length X minus 1. Even my pretty high level kids in 9th grade Algebra 1 struggle to jump to that and represent lengths that way. Struggle bus. But as early as 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade, we need to be playing with algebra tiles and starting to get used to algebra tiles and this because what is the pre-tool to algebra tiles? Base 10 blocks. And those are very literal, very literal. The reason they're literal is because kids can actually count each piece to improve their number sense. But by the time they're in 9th grade Algebra 1, and these kids are still literal, that means they haven't had any algebraic thinking, reasoning, sense making, or experiences. Because they want to get out a ruler and measure the side of this blue. But algebraic thinking is very symbolic. The purpose of a variable is so that always changes. But I can't make that literal. We've tried to make that literal with algebra tile pieces so that kids still have a concrete, but it's not literal anymore. And so that's the jump we have to have kids make. So they relate the algebra tiles as the 100, the 10, the flat, the 100. Oh, that blue one, that's 100. It's not 100 anymore. It's not 100 anymore. It was 100 when it was a 10 by 10, when X was 10. But X could be a half. X could be 3,000. X could be 48. See, X doesn't have to be 10 now. This is an up level from base 10 blocks. And we can make that connection. But the connection that needs to be made is this is not literal anymore. I can't one-to-one it anymore. We focus so much in elementary and especially primary on one-to-one that we kind of algebra reason stuff out of kids. One-to-one is important, but symbolic is also important.
And that brings us to the end of our 6-part workshop replay. If your brain feels expanded, good. You've just experienced the Mastery Math Method approach. Visual, rhythmic, interconnected, and brain-aligned. The next step is implementation, bringing this clarity and confidence into your classroom so your kids finally get math. And hey, if you're loving this and want to get the full workshop where we go step by step into the Mastery Math Method, you can sign up to experience one workshop for just $47. The link is waiting for you.